Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to make a beer mug cake. This cake is so amazing. Like, we've got the beer mug and then it's got a gravity defying beer can pouring not actual beer, pouring beer into the cake. To make this cake, I started off with a 250 gram portion of my vanilla cake, and basically that means I use 250 grams of all the base ingredients. If you want more details, I'll leave them in the description box below, along with all the other recipes that you'll need for this cake. So I bake those cakes in 5 4-inch cake tins. So I level the top off my 5 layers of cake, and then I brush simple syrup over all of it. Simple syrup is 1 pot of water, 1 pot of sugar, boiled and cooled, and it's that simple, hence the name simple syrup. So brush that over your cakes. It just helps keep them moist and fresh because it takes a long time to decorate. It doesn't make them soggy, it doesn't make them overly sweet, it just keeps them nice and moist. Now, to create the illusion for this cake, I'm using a balloon stick. Now, I picked mine from the card factory. I bought a balloon with a balloon stick attached, and then just took the balloon off, but you can probably buy the balloon sticks as they are. So I'm taking some melted white chocolate and I'm affixing the balloon stick to my 4-inch, very thin cake board, and then just leave that for a couple of minutes to set. Once that has set, we can start assembling our cake. So I took some buttercream and I put it into a piping bag just to make it easier. And I packed a little bit of buttercream onto the cake board, and then you want to lower your layers of cake down this balloon stick. Now be careful here, and what you want to do is you want to look underneath the cake as you're lowering it down to make sure the centre of the cake hits the balloon stick, and then lower that down onto your board. Then in between each layer you're going to add some more buttercream and then add another layer of cake on top. Now with all your layers assembled, you're going to give this cake a lovely crumb coat. So basically you're going to pipe some more of that buttercream up the sides of the cake. I'm going to continue to use the piping bag for this. Because it's such a small diameter of a cake, it's only 4 inches, it's going to be quite light. So if you're trying to spread buttercream on the side, it's sort of just going to shift around. So I find piping it on first is easier, then you can go around gently with your spatula and spread that all around the cakes. Spread a bit on the top as well. I know it's difficult because the balloon stick, but just try and avoid the balloon stick. Then you want to chill that for a good hour or even 2. If you can do it overnight, that's brilliant, as long as possible, because you want this crumb cake to be really firm. Once your cake's chilled, you're going to take it out, pack some more buttercream, spread it all out, give it a nice finalise. You can use an icing smoother at this point to make sure that it gets really, really smooth. And then, guess what? You're going to put it back in the fridge to chill. Now we can talk fondant. So I took some white fondant and you're going to colour that. Now the key to getting this colour is using a lot of yellow and just a touch of brown food colouring. Because beer is mainly that golden yellow colour, it just got that undertone of brown. So if you're sparing with that brown colour, you want to use mainly yellow food colouring. So once your fondant's been coloured, you're going to roll that out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. And then you're going to measure the circumference of your cake and also the height of your cake. And you're going to roll out a slab of fondant to those dimensions. Now once you've rolled out that slab of fondant, you're going to take a small offset spatula and you're just going to press that into your slab of fondant all along the cake. Make sure you do it one way and then turn the spatula and do it the other way. And that's going to create those classic beer lines that you see in a beer mug. Don't worry about making these lines too deep, we just want a gentle imprint because we're going to go over later and highlight them. So you're going to roll up that slab of fondant over a rolling pin. Be gentle here because we've got those impressions, we don't want to like distort them, we want to keep them nice and in shape. You're going to unroll that fondant around the circumference of the cake. We're not covering the top at this point, just the sides of the cake. Now you don't really want to smooth that too much because if you smooth the sides of the cake, you're going to distort all that icing. So you just want to sort of press the fondant into the cake. Now I'm going to cover the top of the cake, and I know the top of the cake is going to be covered in the beer froth, but I'm going to cover it in fondant anyway. So I'm rolling out some spare fondant, cutting out a 4-inch circle, making sure that that circle is the right diameter for the cake, poking a little hole in the centre and just lowering it down. And then you want to smooth the join, just making sure that it all meets up nice and perfectly. Now we're going to work on highlighting those texture lines that we made. So you might find that you want to take your small offset spatula and you might want to make those imprints a little bit deeper because once you push the fondant into the cake, it might have faded away a bit. But then we're going to take some cocoa powder and just a dry brush, and we're just going to brush cocoa powder on one side of the seam. Then you're going to take another brush and you're just going to sort of gently blend the cocoa powder out, because you don't want it to be a solid line, you want it to sort of fade out into the rest of the cake. Now roll out a slab of fondant. You want it to be quite thin but quite long, and we're going to wrap this around the balloon stick. Now this will really help if you brush the balloon stick with a touch of water before you do this, and then just gently push the fondant together all the way up the balloon stick. Now take some more balls of that fondant, you're going to, into your hand, you're going to roll a little ball, and then you're going to roll one side of the fondant to make a teardrop shape, and you're going to stick those all around that balloon stick so it looks like the beer's sort of dripping down into the mug. Now we're going to take some more of that white buttercream, and I actually added a touch of white food colouring because I wanted this foam to be really, really white. And I'm going to take a large piping tip, and we're going to pipe shells into the cake. Now you don't want to pipe blobs because otherwise you're going to get these peaks, and we don't want peaks, so we're going to pipe up and pull down into the cake. Now you do that all over the top of the cake. Don't worry if you've got little uncovered spots, because now we're going to take a much smaller piping tip, and you're going to pipe more shells going around, filling in the gaps, and I actually did a little drip down the side of the cake. Just fill in any gaps and make it look all nice and smooth. If you do have any peaks, because I had a few from where you pull up and then you pull and it just gets a bit messy, don't worry, peaks, you can get rid of them. You want to chill the cake for a good half an hour to an hour to make the buttercream get really firm, and then just take your finger and you can just pat down the peaks really easily. Now I also ahead of time created a handle for this cake, so I took a long tube of gum paste and I inserted a floral wire all the way through. I'm going to bend that into a handle shape, and I also added 2 extra pieces of floral wire on either end of the handle, so I had 2 sticking out and 1 running all the way through. You know, make this a good couple of days in advance to make sure that it sets up really firm, and then you can press it into the side of your cake. Now to present this cake, I have a larger cake board. I think it's a 10-inch diameter cake board, and I've covered this with brown fondant and textured to make it look like a wood. To create this wood texture, it's the same technique I used on my coffin cake. If you want to learn how to do that, you can click the eye up there. So place another blob of melted white chocolate onto the board, and you're just going to pick up the cake with the round 4-inch cake board that's underneath and place the whole thing on top. To crown this cake, you're going to take a beer can, obviously empty it out, get rid of the beer, wash it out and make sure it's really dry, because if it's wet it's going to drip on that fondant, it's going to make a little puddle of mucky fondant liquid, and you don't want that, so make sure it's really, really, really dry. If you want, you can stuff it with like cotton wool or something, but I actually didn't find it was necessary. I just placed it on top of the cake, give it a little twist and turn to make sure it's the right angle for the cake, and that's literally it. As I said, if you want all the details of the recipes for buttercream, vanilla cake, if you want the details of what colours I use to make my fondant, they'll all be in the description box below. Now if you think this cake is too difficult for you, I also have another beer cake. You can click the eye up there and that'll take you to my Guinness beer glasses cake. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've loved this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already. You can click here to see my last video and here to see a video randomly selected by YouTube for you.